Well, welcome to Signature Style Saturday, and if there is any one thing that is associated with me and my signature style, I think it would be topiary. My obsession for it, my passion for it. I think it's probably my favorite form of gardening. So much so that it is on the front cover of my garden journal that just recently came out. Sadly, when we moved from the old house, I lost a good number of my Myrtle Topiary, which I'm going to be talking about today. We're also going to be talking about a signature cocktail that I will be serving to my gal friends during the Valentine's season. We're going to talk a little bit about some little life luxuries, some products that are making my life easier, and answer some of your questions. So what do you say, guys?
Do it.
Let's do it. Well, for the next week or two, excuse me, darling, for the next week or two, we are going to be talking about topiary. Now, the practice and the artistry of topiary is not intimidating, I promise you, but there are some nuances to it that I want to share with you today, and some tips and some tricks. And I'm going to try to kind of put them in isolation so that I don't overwhelm you. Let's start out with probably my favorite indoor variety of topiary, and that is Myrtle communis compacta. It is not like a crepe myrtle. It's not like the traditional myrtle hedge that you see growing. It's not even eugenia, which is also a form of topiary that I grow traditionally outside. This is a small sword-shaped leaf that probably was made famous by Bunny Mellon and her passion for growing topiary. Also, and more recently, I think Tory Burch has really made it famous. I remember being in New York City and seeing some of her gorgeous Myrtle Topiaries in her showroom there in New York City. And I have a modest collection compared to theirs. Mine has historically in the past been a lot larger. It is now growing, but the reason that it is smaller is because when we moved from the other house to this house, there was so much chaos going on that I lost a number of them. So let's talk a little bit about their care, how to grow them, how you might want to style them, and most importantly, let's start off after this break with where can I source them and where can I find them, because I think that might be the most vexing, most frustrating question of all. Now, Myrtle Topiary can be hard to find. I very, very infrequently have ever found it here in Oklahoma City. If I have, it would have been at a florist. I sometimes have seen them in Dallas. I have seen them at Manse, M-A-N-S-E, in Alexandria, Virginia. I have also seen it, let's see, where else have I seen it? Just out and about. I've seen it in some other florists in California. But in the Oklahoma City area, sadly, I have not, and typically I have to order them online just like you. Now, transparency, it is not cheap. And I don't know why, because it's relatively easy to start from stem and root cuttings. It's relatively easy to start. It's not an expensive plant in general. And in fact, when I was in California recently, it just grows like a weed there. They use it as shrubs. So why it is so expensive, I don't know. Maybe it's because it does require training and patience, but so do your children. So maybe that's why I like growing it. So let me talk about 3 different sources that I have used recently to get these new specimens. Number 1, Amazon. And I shared this source recently in a swipe up link on Instagram, and I think they sold out almost immediately. The inventory must not have been very great. So how much was it, and what size did it come in, and how was it packaged? Well, this is the size that it came in. That is probably 6 to 8 inches tall. It is in a 3.5 to 4 inch pot. Typically, when you receive topiary, it comes encased in some kind of shrink wrap, plastic bubble wrap or something to keep the soil in place. It will sometimes come with a little care tag. And this is the shape that this one came in. Now, when you start a topiary from a cutting, it doesn't look like this, obviously. It looks like a little shrub, a little spot of green. So over time, they train it into a single ball trunk or a multiple ball trunk. And that's what you are paying for. And how much did I pay? This one, I believe, was $34, and give or take a dollar or two, that's what you can pretty much expect to pay online. Please note that this one also came in a plastic pot. I will repot it myself in something else, so that is something of an expense to get the look that I want. But basically, it came in pretty good shape. It isn't completely spherical, so I'll want to train on it a little bit more to get that globular shape that I like. But that was source number 1, Amazon. You can continue to try back frequently to see if they've got it, but I can't guarantee it. Source number 2. It also sold out, I believe, fairly recently. I ordered 3 from there, and it was a company called, I believe it was Limieux, L-I-M-I-E-U-X. And if you are going to look for sources online, here is the trick. You source Myrtle Communis compacta live. Topiary. All of those words need to be in there. Otherwise, you're going to get crepe myrtle, you're going to get artificial topiary, you're going to get Eugenia topiary, you're going to get things you don't want. So use those 4 terms. Stuart, we might want to put that up here. Myrtle, communis or communis, compacta, live, topiary. And that's where it will come up with some sources for you. Some of them are better than others. I don't know, because I haven't tried every one of them. But I did try this Lemieux. It might have been through Etsy. And kind of, I don't know, strangely enough, you will find that Etsy is a source for them, and they must use different suppliers. We will put these links below. And when I ordered from them, it too came in a plastic pot. I've already repotted it in this beautiful gray distressed clay pot, but look at how beautiful that form is. They took a little bit more time, a little bit more attention. It's approximately the same height, but it is already dense. It already has a perfect round top, and it is distinct from this one. Stuart, can you see the difference there? Yeah, the difference. So if I put it up here, you can see it's about the same height. Okay, so that is source number 2. Source number 3, and the one that I'm probably going to recommend most highly, is an old source that is once again a new source, and that's from my friend Angela at Passiflora Kalamazoo. If you have followed me for a while, you know that in the past she supplied topiary. It was even under Linda Votter's collection, I believe. She was sourcing them from a purveyor that then decided to quit business. So that kind of affected her inventory. Well, guess what? Angela bought that greenhouse and bought the inventory. Yes, go Angela! And so she is starting to really get her inventory up to snuff, and now that it is not quite so cold, she will be sending them to you. By the way, when they send them, this little lemon cypress that I got, I also got off of Amazon. It was $19, not such a great deal when I can get one for half the price and twice the size sometimes at Trader Joe's. But nevertheless, I got it. This one was $19 plus change. And when it came, and when the topiaries came from Passiflora Kalamazoo, they came with a little block that contains heat, that absorbs heat. So when they get it to you, if the temperatures are sub-freezing, then they will remain intact. And intact they are, and beautifully, beautifully shipped. Hers came in bubble wrap surrounded by a cocoon of perforated cardboard. They were just beautifully packed. They all came, unlike the others, these all came in beautiful Italian terracotta. Some of them, like this one, gave me the vapors because look at that mossy growth on the side. I pay extra for that, and I would have paid quite a bundle to get a pot like this that had this beautiful patina. So that's one reason to buy from her. The prices vary. I couldn't tell you exactly what the prices are, but next week I will be sharing her price list. I will be sharing her, her inventory so you can see exactly what sizes she has, what heights she has, and what she has available. The ones that were approximately this same stature. So let's look at, do I have one here? This one here. Okay, it's already in one of these pots, but this one was approximately the same stature, and it was just, I would say, a couple dollars more than the other two, but again, it came in a beautiful pot. So there you go. Another distinction, and this is the first time I saw it, these from Angela, they are braided stems. They have braided stems, unlike these, which are all singular in stem.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, why is that important? Well, number one, it gives you probably, and gives her, a faster, fuller poodle shape on top. The other thing that it does from a practical standpoint is when these complain, when they get fussy, if one of these stems die, that means the other two may still be going strong, and all you have to do is rely on those other stems. So there you go, 3 for the price of 1. So let's take a break here, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I trim them, how I feed them, and how I care for them. Well, I don't think any of us would reject a good storage solution or a good storage idea, and definitely those kinds of solutions are important to me now that I am at the cottage and I have a little bit less storage area. And anything that solves a problem for me is, as you know, a little life luxury. So my little life luxuries and things that are making my life easier this week are, one, collapsible. So I love this kangaroo, it's a Fisker's product, this premium kangaroo pop-up bag. It is retractable, and I love it because it's lightweight. I don't have to lug a great big heavy trash can or something like that around when I am collecting debris from the garden. And then when I'm finished, again, it will just fold up accordion style and I can hang it up, just like here in this little picture. So I can easily store it on the west side of my house. I love it. I love it so much. I just bought this one. I had already bought one and I bought another. So if one is good, 2 is better. Okay, the other thing that I love, this is an oldie but goodie. I talked about this when I was discussing topiary and a way that you can hydrate your small pots of topiary. This is a Centurion product. I actually did a commercial for them years back, and it's an accordion bucket. They also, I think, didn't they have a dog bowl, Stuart? Yeah, and it's just, it just expands. And so I can keep this under my kitchen sink. And then when I am done with it, all I have to do is just retract it and it just slides right in there. I love this. I have a couple of them. One I keep inside, one I keep outside. And when you're done, they just deflate, and it's just really handy, and it's a wonderful thing. Okay, this is also a storage solution. And not only is it a great storage solution, but it also was a set of domino storage solution. And what do I mean by that? I love this so much. I'm about to get another one. If I really love something, I buy it, I try it out, and then I get another one. And this is a hard plastic storage bin. It is waterproof. You can also lock it. It comes with a lock if you want to keep, maybe some handheld battery operated tools in it or something, or anything that might be precious to you. It's not difficult to put together. It's very lightweight, and I'm going to keep it on the west side of the cottage so that I don't have to go all the way back to my little storage shed to get my hand tools, to get my garden gloves, to get fertilizer, any of that kind of thing. I can just reach in here and get it. Now, I love not only good storage solutions, but a good storage set of dominoes. And what do I mean by that? Well, in my laundry room, I had these canvas storage boxes, which I really, really liked. But then I decided I wanted to upgrade them to something that was a little bit more attractive, some wicker boxes of the same size. And I thought, aha, I can do that because I can use these out in the garden bin, because look, they fit exactly in here, and I can keep my pruners in here. I can keep my garden gloves in another one. If I want to access something on the bottom, I just take this one out and I can access what's in here where I've got fertilizer. I can keep my long bladed shears and things in here. In other words, it is just elegant in both its simplicity and its function, and I like it about that. It also gave me an excuse without feeling guilty of ways that I can use these felt boxes and buy the new wicker ones for the laundry room, and I'll show you those momentarily. I'm so excited I can't talk. The other thing that you guys know historically I just adore is my lightweight battery operated works blower. Okay, so you guys know I love it. I love it so much that I just bought another one for the back. That way I can keep this one up here in front and I can keep another one in the back. And why did I buy another one? Because they are on a great price right now, at a great price point right now. They're like $89 and typically they're over $100, and I just think they are invaluable, especially if you don't have a lot of hand strength, if you've got arthritis in your hands, if you just aren't very strong. This is just so, so lightweight. In fact, Leah just picked it up and I think she was surprised. She almost dropped it because it was so light. So I wanted to let you guys know about this. We'll put a link to all of these products below, but I wanted to let you know about it because it is such a great deal right now as we all get ready to go out in the garden. Now, Stuart, do you want to follow me inside, and I want to show you those wicker baskets that I put in my laundry room. They're kind of cute. I don't know what the inside of my house looks like right now, but let's do it anyway. And by the way, while we're going in, let me show you that this is how those topiaries came shipped. I think I told you they were in a cardboard slip. And there they are. So come on in here. And let's go back to the laundry room, because I want to show you this. I don't know that I would have bought these new baskets had I not had a use for the other ones. But I just thought these were a lot more attractive than this. So this one I will put in a cabinet. I also liked it better when they weren't doubled up because it makes access a lot easier. So these I think are a little bit more consonant with the look that I want to have here in the laundry room. And I just think they're a little bit better looking. You labeled them too. Yeah, and yes, and I've still labeled these. The other thing is these were really kind of wedged in here, and when I had them doubled up, it was too difficult to get them in and out. So just using open top now too. Yeah, singular one, right. I don't have a closed top. It just makes them a little bit more accessible, and I think just a little bit better looking. So there are some little life luxuries. Again, for me, the most luxurious thing is something that makes my life easier. These have definitely made my life easier, and hopefully they can make your life easier too. All links are below.
So we start with the white cranberry.
Cranberry.
Yeah, we did 0.75, so 3/4 of an ounce of that. So a 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice. The elderflower liqueur, Saint Germain. We'll do an ounce of that.
Oh my. Oh my.
Our vodka, we're gonna do 2 ounces of this.
Now she does this so quickly, and I would really have to be thinking really hard through each step. She does make it look easy.
And shake this guy.
I love these flavors. I love the lime. I love the
It's a very bright and
cranberry. Oh, that's pretty. we're back. So before I show you how I trim them and how I feed them, I want to answer some of the most frequently asked questions about this type of topiary in general. You guys have been flooding my Instagram feed, Facebook, just everywhere with questions about topiary, and I'm going to try to answer them. So Leah, you've got a couple that people have shot to us recently.
Besides most people asking where you source them from, which we've already covered, Brenda Gale from Instagram says, "Hi Linda, will you explain what you do with Myrtle Topiary once you get them home? I have new and old in."
Okay, so that really depends on how they come, and I addressed that a little bit earlier. My ones from Angela, they come potted in this beautiful terracotta pot. They already are in a pot to match the scale of the plant, and I couldn't do a more beautiful job potting them up than they already are in when they arrive. Now, these in the plastic pot, not so much, or this one, which also came in a plastic pot, not so much. So if I'm going to spend this much on a plant, I really want to showcase it as beautifully and as elegantly as I possibly can. So what I will do is unwrap it. I will really hydrate it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about watering later, but I will really hydrate it. And then, because I like to coordinate typically the containers as well as the plants themselves in a cohesive display, then I want, for the most part, the containers to match. And I certainly don't want them to be in plastic. So I will take this one out of its plastic pot. I will just use some basic good quality potting mix. I will repot it in this Italian terracotta pot. It will match the rest of my collection, and I think it'll be beautiful. If when I take this out of its plastic pot, it looks like it's really root bound, then I might go up a size and plot it, plop it, and plant it in a pot that is a little bit bigger than the one it was growing in. But again, it's also all for the beauty of the display, so that they look really magnificent in singularity or in a collection. Okay, another question.
Love it. One more from Sarah Shan on Instagram.
Okay.
She says, "Where to start with topiary collection? When can I begin to prune and shape my outdoor topiaries?"
Okay, so Sarah, let me say, and I've gotten also on YouTube, I have screenshot a number of these similar questions. Where is a good place to start? I would say wait till this spring. And by the way, I want to make this as easy as possible for you. So at the end of the video and in the description box below, I'm going to supply with you a link to our comprehensive topiary playlist. It is all things topiary. We're also going to put a link, I think, if we can find it, to a Garden Gate magazine article that I once wrote, all about topiary in all different forms, not just this myrtle topiary, but boxwood, cypress, juniper, even things that you just dig up from your garden. So if you need a resource, a comprehensive resource and how-to for shaping, for styling, for maintaining them, then you might want to access those resources in the description box and at the end of the video. But now, what was the question again? When can you start? Okay.
Shaping.
Okay. You know, I often say, know thy garden, know thy zone, thy gardening zone, know thy weather. Check out 14 days into the future, but also know thy topiary. So when you can start pruning on them kind of depends on the type of plant material. So just follow the guidelines. Let's say it's a boxwood topiary. Follow the guidelines in your area and in your zone for pruning boxwood in general. Now, if you've got, let's say this is a boxwood, and you've got one outlier that's just poking its head above the globular form, and that's driving you crazy, by all means, cut it off. So you can do a little bit of selective conservative pruning, but if you are really trying to turn just amorphous shape boxwood into a perfect ball, then I would wait a little bit till it starts putting out new growth in the spring. For me here in Oklahoma, that's typically about March. But the other thing is, I find that if if the boxwood is located in an area that's not coming in and out of sun, it's not coming in and out of different degree variables in temperature, then you can kind of also, if it's, in other words, if it's in a more consistent environment, you can start clipping on them too. I won't start clipping on my boxwood topiary here until probably next month. It all depends on what variety of topiary it is. Again, you can access all of that topiary information and those resources that I listed below. I would say that some of the easiest things to topiary are boxwood, common privet. If you just want a throwaway plant that you can't make a mistake on, dig up a little privet that a bird has dropped and seeded into your landscape. It will go everywhere. But privet, sunshine ligustrum is easy, but you can also topiary yew and some other things. But I say start out with a boxwood that already has kind of a topiary shape, and that's where I would begin. Any other questions? Okay, that's all for now. Well, then I'm going to come up with my own answer to probably the most important question about growing Myrtle compacta, and that is, how do I water them? So let's take a little break, and then we'll come back and do that. Well, these books that I'm not necessarily reading as much as I am perusing will make brilliant Valentine's Day gifts. And one of them has a story, and I'll save it for last. So these two, the Flower Hunter, I guess they're both called the Flower Hunter, named by and written by Lucy Hunter. They are both gorgeous, gorgeous books that really speak to the art of floral design in a much more garden-centric way. Free-form, really beautiful, less kind of constipated, if you will, form of garden design. They're really, really beautiful. They flow, they have movement, they are just absolutely stunning. And she is quite a talent. You can follow her on Instagram. But I just love the romance and the inspiration that she provides with some of her designs. Again, they're not FTD at all. They are very, very romantic in nature and just really seasonal and harmonious with, I think, what I like to think of as that kind of bridge between gardening and floral design. Again, there are two of them. They're both titled The Flower Hunter, and I will put links below. They would make wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day gifts, and might I suggest that you press some of your own blossoms in here when you gift them. Maybe some pansies, maybe some hellebores, maybe some beautiful fern fronds or something like that to make it very, very special. That's how I think I would gift it if I were you. This next book is one of my most prized possessions. If I were having to save some things from a fire, this would be one of them. I absolutely love this book. It is one that I've had for a million years. It inspired my love for topiary. I actually checked it out of the library, and I renewed it so many times that I eventually renewed it to the point where I couldn't even locate it anymore. And finally, I just had to fess up to the library and tell them that I couldn't find it and I just needed to pay for it. So I did indeed pay for it. It was already used when I got it, but that way I got to keep the book because later I found it. You can still, I think there are still copies of it available. I love everything about it. I love the images in it. I tuck some of my favorite topiary articles, pictures of topiary things in it. It largely concentrates on herbal topiary, but also on display and design. I love the simplicity of the illustrations. I just love everything about it. So if you have a loved one who is really getting into topiary and wants something that is both inspirational, is poetic in nature, and makes a beautiful coffee table book, I swear I Leah loves the color of the clay cover so much that she exclaims every time she sees it. And by the way, I think it's all the more beautiful because of the way it's stained. I love the patina on it. It's definitely been loved. Then you might want to add this to your collection or gift it to someone in your life for Valentine's Day or Easter who is becoming infatuated with the artistry and the practice of topiary. Okay, let's talk about watering. Read my lips, write this down, listen carefully. Never, ever, 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 ever let them dry out. Because once they dry out completely, they're toast. There's no bringing them back. The other reason you really want to make sure, I mean, I check mine every single day, sometimes even twice a day if it's in a very, very hot location or a bright location, is because most of the time, to accentuate their form, these topiary come in smaller pots. So the smaller pots, number one, can't hold as much water. Number two, just the plant profile of this kind of myrtle demands that it stay hydrated at all times. And so you really just can't let them dry out. And it pains me to show you this, but I do suffer for you guys. So this one right here was on the verge of drying out. And I'm going to get Stuart to show you a close-up right here. If you see, it is starting to complain. Notice how some of these branches are leaning over. They're hunkered over. They're wilting some. They are not bright green. They are no longer turgid and stand up straight. This is a definite sign that this plant needs watering, and do it immediately. So this one, I noticed it needed to be watered. I did water it, but I wanted to show you this so that you can see what it looks like when it is somewhat distressed. If you get it while it's just distressed, you can keep it alive. If it goes beyond that tipping point, there's not much you can do. So how do you water them? Well, I'm not going to demonstrate here because it would be too messy. But typically what I like to do is get a big bucket, which is one of the reasons I like those collapsible rubber buckets. I've showed you them before. I'll try to put a link. I just put that in my kitchen sink or in my garden. I stretch it out. It's one of those accordion buckets. I stretch it out and I submerge the entire plant, the entire pot, into that bucket of water. I wait until the bubbles have stopped coming above the surface, and then I take it out, which means that all of the air has gone out of the container, and it will prevent it from doing that thing, which is so frustrating, where it begins to separate from the sides, and then you water it, and the water runs down the side of the pot, and it doesn't, it's not absorbed by the root ball. So that's a real tip. Now, can you also just water them without dipping them in a bucket? Yes, you can. And when I do that, what I will do is put them in some kind of tray. Sometimes it'll be a metal tray, a plastic tray, or whatever. I will water them real well, and then I will also put some water into the tray so they are watered not only from above, but they are watered from below. I don't even worry about them standing in water because these are such thirsty plants that I've never had overwatering be a problem. So if you're going to err, always err on the side of overwatering them, especially if you're keeping them inside in a really dry environment that is heated, like our central air and heat right now. Another thing that you might want to consider is humidity. Another argument for putting it on top of a tray that might be filled with pebbles or something to keep the humidity up. Use a humidifier if your air is very, very dry. And then just set them in a bright, sunny location. The brighter, the better, even direct sun, because these are sun lovers. I keep them out in full sun, even in August, outside in Oklahoma. That's just how much sun they can take. So they really appreciate lots of sunlight. If in the winter you're using them as an indoor plant and they start to complain, and I'm going to show you an example of that later. If they start to complain, if they start to drop their leaves, you know what? we all complain a little bit in the wintertime. We don't want to be inside, and neither do those plants. So as long as they're not dead, just keep them going until you can put them outside in the spring. Maybe repot them, give them a good dose of plant food, and they'll be happy again. Speaking of plant food, what do I feed them with? Well, right now they are starting to go into their active growth period. And if you look at this one, you can see some new growth that's coming out from the plant profile that's a little bit more, it's a lighter shade of green. You can definitely distinguish that it's new growth, and that means that it's time to start feeding them. So I'm going to start giving them a gentle feed. What is a gentle feed? A gentle feed to me is about half the recommended strength that it tells you to use on the back of the bottle. But don't overthink it. If it's a little bit stronger, don't worry about it. It's just about giving them a good feed. What do I use? I like to use two different things. I've used many things over the years. Just a good, well-balanced liquid fertilizer. I like this Fox Farm Grow Big liquid plant food. It's a 644 for vegetative growth. We'll put links to all of this below. I also adore all of the Espoma organic indoor products. This one is 222 indoor plant liquid food. So I would suggest both of those. They're not stinky, or at least this one's not stinky, and even if it is, suffer for your plants, suffer for your topiaries. So these work really, really well. Now, let's take a break here because I want to show you two older topiaries I have that are kind of sad, that have been, I don't want to say abused, but a little bit mistreated just because of the move. I'm going to show you them, how I tend to care for them, and how I'll be clipping them. Well, as you can see, this topiary is almost as large as my head. And it's not unhappy, but it's not really happy. It isn't putting out any new growth yet. There isn't a lot of shine or luster to the leaves on the canopy. And so I'm definitely going to be giving this a really good feed. I'm also going to repot it because I just think that the soil isn't a very good quality. Whatever potting mix I used last time, I think I could have done better. And so I'm going to repot it. And I'm going to repot it into a really large Italian brown clay pot. I discovered that I can get these at Bricks. I'm going to pick up a couple of them there, and I will repot this, and it will be much, much happier. I might even let it be just a single ball topiary. I might cut this off. That kind of remains to be seen, but it definitely needs to be shown a little bit of love, as does this one. Now, this one is really unhappy. And I want to make it happy because this one was a start. It was from a cutting that Monica did for me many years ago. And if you want to see that, you can go back and look at some of our past videos. But I grew this into a triple tier topiary form. But it too has really suffered in all of the transitioning, and I want to get it back to really great health, and I'm going to be doing that. Now, this one I started feeding last week just to see if it would respond, and indeed it is responding, and there's new growth on it. And it's also responding by shedding some of its old growth leaves, which makes me a little bit unhappy, but as long as it's still alive, I can do something with it. It's got pretty good form, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip back each one of these balls by about an inch. I'm going to try to not go too much into the brown wood, but I am definitely going to clip it back enough so that I encourage new growth coming out. I'll do the same thing. It's pretty intuitive. I'll be doing the same thing with this one that needs to be sheared into a globular form. You really can't do it wrong. Just eyeball it. Don't be afraid. If you cut off too much, that means the ball will just be that much tighter and that much denser, and in the long run, probably that much healthier. So there's just a few tips and tricks and what you might want to do and what you might not want to do if you want to grow this type of topiary. We'll be talking about other forms as the season progresses, but if you want to give maybe a topiary as a Valentine in lieu of a bouquet of flowers, well, I would support that. But wait! I've got a couple of extra things that might be important considerations for you when you use topiary inside or outside your house. Number one, you will find that they look better at varying levels. If you all have them at the same level, they look a little bit more commonplace. So either buy topiaries at varying heights, so their heights get you at different levels, or elevate some of them. This is a great idea. Whenever I go to the thrift store, I always look for plant stands, and I do, Stuart says. And this is a way that you can elevate any kind of topiary, any kind of plant in general, but it makes them all look so much more interesting when they're at different heights. So that's a very important display notation, I think. The other thing is, this is so fun. I was out the other day, and on my walks, I'm always looking for things to forage. And I love using unique things to mulch my topiaries with. I have used miniature little kumquats. I've used acorns. I've used miniature pine cones. I have used seeds. I have used beans. I have used all sorts of different fun things, or even something as basic and elegant as moss, or even some of this raffia. But this was a fun idea that I discovered as I was walking the other day, because I came upon this just beautiful batch of blue. It was just so pretty. And I looked at it and I thought, what is that? Well, it was all sorts of juniper berries that had all fallen off of the tree. And indeed, when they're all together and you pick all of the riffraff out of them, all of the little leafy bits and the twigs, it really makes a beautiful, beautiful mulch. I've got some here on a kalanchoe, and I've mulched it in these blue juniper berries. I think I'm gonna, I made a mental notation of where I was on that walk. They were all over the sidewalk, just getting squished, and I decided to save them from that fate. I scooped them up, I stuffed them into my pockets, and lo and behold, they live now another life adorning this, or maybe a topiary in my collection. And here you go. Here is my outfit du jour. My earrings are just simple, inexpensive wooden earrings that come in a set on Amazon, I believe. I buy them by the book and I give them away as gifts, and I'll see if I can find it and give you the link below. Okay, I wanted to show you this outfit because practically everything in it is thrifted. So my suede jacket that I love is thrifted, and this is one of those items that I think I spent maybe $5 on, but I took it to be altered and tapered at the waist, and I really just love the way it looks. It feels luxurious, and I love this kind of crosshatch seaming on it or threading on it. My top is also kind of thrifted. I got it off of Poshmark. It's All Saints. I love the color palette of it. My breeches are not thrifted. These are one of my new favorite pair of jeans. These are from J. Peterman. I really love them. They are so comfortable, and they are on, I think, deep discount now. I will try to see if they've still got them available to give you a link. And then most importantly, I wanted to show you guys these boots. These were such a good deal. They're a faux suede. They zip on and off. And why I love them is because they are so comfortable. They look great with skirts. They look great with, kind of these gaucho design style pants, jeans, slacks, whatever. But more importantly, they're at a great price point and eminently comfortable. They've been my go-to boots this year. And then I've just got an assortment of different bracelets and things, most of which were just gifted to me by others or that I picked up at some art fairs. So there you go. There is my outfit of the day.